Is acting up. Come on over here. We're here with the good doctor here at Allah's Kitchen. This is a new vegan restaurant they have out here in Rochester. And I'm here, been blessed to been soaking up a lot of the wisdom that this brother that I happen to run into. He says he sees me all over the place, down in Harlem, up here, all over. My brother HAQi. Go ahead, right ahead. Talk to the family, brother.
Yeah, my name is HAQi, man. Listen, on Instagram, I'm at ELHAQ, LHAQ on Instagram. Yo, I was just talking to Brother Bobo about, some of the information that a lot of the brothers are talking about, and I'm in a different area when it comes to all of this. We're not thinking as nation builders. We're not talking as nation builders. So I want to talk to all of us about that. I want to talk to all of us about the wavelength that we're on and how we're not taking advantage of the battlefield that we're really on. What I really want to talk about is the percentages of us as a population in this country. They're saying that we're 13 to 17% of the population. That means they got 87 to 83% of the population who are other. They Caucasians, they Asians, they Indians. They are all these other people that have been imported into this country. So at that ratio, 17%, none of us should be broke and poor as melanated rich people. If you're melanated, if you consider yourself a black person, I don't care if you consider yourself African, indigenous, Moor, whatever you consider yourself, you are still part of that 17% at the most. So that means you could take advantage of the 83% that are out there to take advantage of. How do you take advantage of that? You use the battlefield the way it was meant to be used. You look over the battlefield, you find what the best vantage point is, and you take advantage of that vantage point and you hold that point. What's the best vantage point for us as indigenous people, as Africans in this country? The best vantage point is corporation. It's corporate unity. We talk about unity all the time. We talk about how we can't do this and how we can't do that. I'm telling you, there's a mechanism already built in that is a tribe, that is unity. It's called a corporation. All the laws in America benefit the corporation. The corporation, the Caucasians that set these corporations up, all they've done is take what the Moors taught them. They just changed the name from tribe, they changed the name from clan, and they put corporation on the top of it. And they've been utilizing the same thing that made us great in the past. They utilize it in the present for their benefit. Roosevelt's, the Vanderbilts, what Trump has just been in office. These are all corporations. So as a corporate entity, you can take advantage of every corporate law that's in state. The Moors are always talking about the laws and how the laws work for you. Well, the greatest law in this country right now, the most dynamic law, is the currency law. And that currency law is based on the corporation. And the even better aspect is based on the trust. If you could build a trust, the trust is the only contract that isn't based on an agreement with the state. So first we build at the corporate level, then we build at a trust level. How do you take advantage of the corporation level? I'm going to give y'all all the jewels on a corporation. I'm writing a book called Becoming Ancestors. It's about modern day corporate tribalism. Once I started to write that book, what I realized is that a corporation and a tribe are the exact same thing. So let's break it down. You have a CEO. They're built differently, but I'm going to tell you how they built also. All right. So if I'm a person who has an idea, I get my idea ready for the market. I build that idea. I start to sell it. I put a corporation around that idea. I get to a certain amount of success. I'm the CEO of that company. Now, when I get to a certain amount of success, what do? I want my company to be able to go to another level. So I reach out to other people who are the heads of these companies, and I say, listen, I'm going to give you a certain amount of money, a certain amount of percentage to be my board of directors. And that's what happens. That board of directors comes, the board of directors is up here. They guide the CEO who is here. And then the CEO has department presidents. They're heads of different departments in this corporation. They are below him. They take care of what goes below that. Then you have your managers. And then down there, you have your workforce. Boom. In a tribe is built differently. In a tribe, we came together in a unified nature. And in unity, everyone knows that I'm gonna give it to you in a modern day sense where you understand. When we off the porch, we go outside, we get with our friends who do whatever, and we gang up. We become a group. They call it a gang. These are just our friends. Every one of those friends is something. Every one of those dudes you grew up with is something. Every one of those girls you grew up is something. The guys I grew up with, everyone knew who I was. They knew I read a lot. They knew I was smart, and that's who I was. Nobody messed with me. Nobody could punk me. Nobody could do anything like that. I wasn't the weakest in my group either, but because I grew up with some tough dudes. But they were brothers who hustled. They were brothers who were into sports. They were brothers who were into everything. So whatever they're into, that's what they lead on. That's who you go to your leader on. So as a people, as a civilization, and a builders of civilization, that's how you group up. You group up, you build a civilization, and then you follow those who have the mastery in whatever they have the mastery in, whether that's art, agriculture, or just a brother that has a forward-thinking mind. That brother becomes your chief. Now, as you get older, you start to realize, hey, we as a family have built something. We were young people. We came together. We followed you. We built this thing. And now, how do we keep this going? And the chief says, oh, we gotta look at our youth and figure out who's going to be the next chief. And as elders, as the elder of our little tribal nation here, we got to find out who's going to be the next chief, and we're going to teach them how to be chief. That's how the corporation is just like a tribe. It only is built different. The corporation is built off the CEO and his idea. The tribe is built off that group of brothers and sisters and who they put in to become chief. Chief is the voice of the people. Chief is the CEO. That's the voice of the company. From there everyone who's below that. There are people who are masters in art, agriculture, who's masters in defense. There's masters in, we need the medicine woman for our health. That's the level. That's the same level in a corporation, which is your corporate headquarters, your heads of industry, your heads of manufacturing, your heads of produce, whatever it is in that corporation. That's the same level. Then at the next level down, you have your full tribe. So what they have done is they've taught us that tribes are bad to have. They taught us that tribes are, some old African old shit, and they are still using tribes to stay in power. Why do they teach you that? They teach you that because they don't want you to be tribal. They don't want you to be in power. Because once you start doing that, you realize that the tribe is your real power. Families as united family fronts are your real power. You as a family unit, who you marry, the kids you have, that's the real power. So they don't want you to have that power. So I'm telling you, as 17% of the population in the United States, you should be corporate based. You should be in a corporation with your family. And I'm talking about your whole family. I'm talking about cousins, the grandparents. I'm talking about your aunts and your uncles. You should be in a corporation with them, taking all of your income from whatever job you work and putting it into a corporate account. And from that corporate account, doing business. Now, the way we do business, is kind of messed up the way we do business. They save all their money, they build a business, they put it into effect, and then that business has to, accumulate profit for them. If it doesn't, that business closes down, they've wasted their money. But if you do it as a corporation, if you do it as a family corporation, you can get into a bigger business that's guaranteed to work. These corporations out here franchising, they got franchise businesses, they got all these businesses ready for your money. But you can't get into them because you don't want to unify with your family, because you need it, because they've programmed you into thinking that you have to be solitary in your development as a people. I'm telling you, being solitary in your development is a losing strategy. If one or two of us can do that, but if you really want to win, then you got to group up and you got to get into the game at a level where you can really win. So, you still good?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
So, I once was at, I'm from Rochester, New York. We had a place called the FDRC, which was the Frederick Douglass Resource Center. I used to do a thing in there with a brother named Haru called Real Talk. And the Hunts, who ran the center, who created the center, Reverend Hunt, they had a group of people who came from Ohio to the Frederick Douglass Resource Center because there was a gallery there with, Frederick Douglass and his wife's memorabilia. And, we had a little thing. And there's an auditorium there. and he wanted me to speak, and I was like, yeah, I don't really want to speak. But you know, Gerald Hunt has a way of making you do things you don't want to do, which are the benefit of those. And so I did. And one of the first things I saw was that there was 100 people who came. They came on a big charter bus, and it was their family reunion. They had a itinerary of travel in their family reunion. And I got in front of them and I was like, who set this up? You know, because I understood that they drove hours to get here. They had an itinerary that was going hours someplace else. They were going to see Harriet Tubman's grave. We know that's close by. And I was just blown away. I was like, who set all this up? And the sister and the brother that set it up, I said, next year or next family reunion, take all of that money and put it into a corporate account and build a family business. You got 100 family members in this room. Y'all got on a charter bus, a bus that chartered you from Ohio to Rochester. You going to where what is it? Auburn. You going to Auburn? You going back to Ohio? I said, y'all had to pay for all this. I said, if you put this into a business, a family business, that's generations of wealth. Now, the brother came to me later and he was like, man, listen, it was hard to put this together. I said, but you did it. I said, all you got to do is build the plan outright, the business plan. What is a business plan? A business plan is a projection. When you build a business plan, the reason why you have to have a business plan is because you want to go to a bank and get a loan for a certain amount of money so that you can create your business. To do that, the bank wants to see projections on your profit. I said,
leave your card or somebody's credit card up here.
I said you could do the same thing. I said you could do the same exact thing. You could do this. You could do it. That's Abigail.
He's going in, ain't he, family? He's going in.
Oh, you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay, how do we get it?
So, hey, yo. Now, call that brother from Be Healthy and ask him if he got Abigail number. Sorry about that. So, as a family, all you have to do to get your family members involved, I know he was saying, you know, it was hard enough to get this family reunion set up. You know, I had to tell people what we were going to do, blah, 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 and what it was going to cost. I said, that's the same thing you do with your family business, because it's the same thing you do with a bank. So you figure out what you're going to do. You figure out what the projections are. You figure out what it's going to cost to have that thing happen, and you take that to your family. You got them projections. All you need is a certain amount of money. Your family becomes the bank. Your family becomes the loan officer. And then you could build that into a trust. That means your family members are always profiting off of that business. And if it's successful, then there's more business that you can do as a family. So I'm telling our people that no matter what you are in this country, in the United States of America, as black people, as melanated people, you are 17% of the population. You need to be in business with any other black people, 10%, 5% of that business, whatever percent of that business you can contribute, so we can take advantage of the other 83% of the population out there. None of us should be broke. The math doesn't add up that any black person in America is broke, because we're 17% of the population. That means there's 83% of the population we could take advantage of. That's knowledge. That's knowledge. That's the kind of knowledge that you need to be in the forefront of your mind at all times. The master teachers have taught us everything that we needed to know to master ourselves. The books are there, the Dr. Benz, the John Henry Clarks, the Dr. Yorks, the Dr. Valentines, all the metaphysics, the Bobby Hemmets, all of them. They've taught us everything. We live in the 21st century. You got YouTube. You can pull up lecture after lecture after lecture. We still got Jewel Pookrum alive on Instagram and on YouTube. Y'all crazy when it comes to knowledge itself in the 21st century. You don't have to do what we had to do in the 80s. In the 80s, we had to get a VHS tape. and sit in somebody's basement because they wouldn't let us copy that VHS tape, because the VHS tape, we were afraid it was going to mess up if we let somebody copy it.
Yep.
You didn't lose it. So that meant I had to go with my notebook, my pen and paper in 1983, 1987, sit down in somebody's basement and watch that lecture over and over again and take notes. Take notes. I wasn't in New York City when Dr. Valentine was doing lectures. We used to get 5 tapes. Dr. Valentine did all-day lectures. Them shits was 18 hours.
Talk about it.
We used to get 5, 6 VHS tapes, stacks like this, and sit in the basement for weeks and write it all down and go to the library and research it all. Then come back with the brothers and build with them, be like, yeah, God, I got this and that. Yo, we built. I used to take a bus to DC, go to the Library of Congress, read them old books. Y'all don't got to do that. So why are you still reiterating old knowledge? Your baby should be born with knowledge of self, period. If they're not, if you are a grown up, if you are above 20 years old, you don't have knowledge of self, you're lost, because you got YouTube. You could just sit there with lectures, and I'm talking about learning the lectures. I'm not talking about listening to them, then getting on your IG and yelling, or getting on Facebook and yelling about what you just learned like y'all do. Y'all gotta stop that, because you sound mad. You have to absorb that knowledge. You have to take that knowledge. You got to learn the languages and the linguistics and the words, but you could do that faster than we could ever do it, because you got it all day. You ain't got to be with nobody. And because you have knowledge of self, you don't have to become those masters. What y'all are not doing is you are not respecting what the masters did. You don't have to become new masters. I see a lot of brothers online, I'm not going to name any names, but I see a lot of brothers online going over old information. They're adding on to that old information, but they're not giving respect due from where they got it from. You should automatically say up front, hey, I read this Dr. Ben book. This Dr. Ben book sent me to do the research on this, and the third, and this is what I'm adding on to what I learned in this book. This is what I thought was right. This is what I thought was wrong. And I'm at the place and space of mind that if you're a positive being and you're under positive energy, you never have to say what you think was wrong in the book. We do a lot of that. We want to break down a master. You don't got to do that. All you got to do is say, I read this book, and this book catapulted me, and this is what I learned. And you add on just by doing that. You don't got to go back and say the master, this teacher was wrong about X, Y, Z. You don't got to do that with them, because they didn't lie to you. All they did is study and find out what they found out and put it in word for you. I can understand doing that to somebody who lied and gave you false information, and you want to break that false information. But when a person literally spent their whole life giving you knowledge, you ain't got to go back and say he was wrong about X, Y, Z. All you got to do is talk about what he was right about, and then what you can add on, and then you become the new master. And those people read that book, and then they got what you had because you wrote a damn book, or you put a series out, and now they can move forward in life because they can take both of that and move forward. So I'm telling you, that's what I did in life. Everything I just spoke about came from my trajectory in life. I was 12 years old in the Nation of Islam. My mother had to sign a little paper. The elder had to come to my house because my mother was a Baptist. He had to come to the house so I could be a Muslim. I was in the Nation of Islam, 5%. I was an Ansar. I moved through levels. I moved through the metaphysics. I was down Bobby Hemmett. I studied the Vodun. I studied the Twa. I studied ancient Kemet. I know it all. I'm God in the flesh. I don't play. I'm God in the flesh. And I'm telling you that any one of us at this point, 21st century, January 2nd, 2021, is ridiculous if you think that you have to be broken powerless. The reason why you are still on the wavelength and the mindset that you're on is because you don't realize that you are still under the spell of the Urugu. You're still worried about what they do so much that you can't empower yourself. I'm telling you, you are 17% of the population in the United States of America. The United States of America is ran by corporate law. You can become a corporation with a name that does not know who runs it, who owns it. No one will know. You can create a trust. No one will know. and you can take advantage of 83% of the population, they will spend their money with you because they don't know who owns the thing. What does that mean? That means that now you can revamp and rehab your community. You do not have to move anywhere. That means that your community can now fund itself. That means you no longer have to deal with cops because you can fund the police. That means you no longer have to deal with school systems because you fund the school. You fund the curriculum. You fund the everything. You no longer have to worry about food deserts because you fund the acreage. You bought the dirt. You grow the food. You bought the trucks that ship that food right where you live. Then you don't have a desert. You are in control. You are in power. Y'all got to get this right, man. You got to get this right. I don't know what else to say.
Man, you went from A to Z and didn't skip a beat. Brother, I'm so happy that I came in contact with you. And up here in Rochester, New York, in the Rock, and I will be back. I know you be all over the place. You just don't stay up here.
I'm all over the place. I'm all over the place. Right now, I'm out in Vegas. I just came from Mississippi, learning some stuff that I'm
Give your
talking
contact information one more time.
Yo, you hit me up on Instagram at HAQi, ELHAQ, and on Facebook I'm at HAQi, HAQI, Jameson, JAMISON. Hit me up. Hit me up on Facebook, guys.
Peace.
Peace.